There's her overhead bin.
There's
to
my
me,
bin.
this is her space.
That's my space.
And someone that comes in crowds that I think is doing just what Turkish Airlines doesn't want.
Okay, now I'm on the aisle, right? You're in the middle.
I'm in the middle, apparently. You're on the window seat.
Okay, but you need to get your bag because you've got to get off and make your connection.
I'm going to wait.
You're going to wait? You're not going to say, hey, do you think I can?
No, I'm going to wait till we all stand up. I'm going to grab.
That's right.
And Turkish Airlines would not find me.
Yeah.
I don't like when people stand up when it's not their turn.
Right. So we could all fly together. I'm not so sure. I think Dee'd be elbowing her way out.
He knows me all too well. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Good Day Orlando Extra. We will do it again tomorrow. You have an amazing day today.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you. Welcome to Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning, live on Fox Local, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us. We've got a lot to get to in this next hour. I want to let you know a little bit about what we have ahead of us here on Fox 35 News Plus. You're going to hear from Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer talking about affordable housing in Orlando. He was at a ribbon cutting this morning where the city has transformed an older hotel into 150 affordable housing units. And the mayor saying that affordable housing, one of the two major issues that are pressing in Orlando. We'll hear from him coming up in just a little bit. We're also going to hear from officials with the National Hurricane Center and other agencies talking about a number of things with hurricane preparedness, but interesting to note how some new technology is improving hurricane forecasting. We're just a couple of days away now from the start of hurricane season coming up on June 1st, and so all of this, of course, very pressing and important to keep in mind. We're going to hear more on that in just a little bit. Also, Governor Ron DeSantis signing some animal cruelty bills. He was in Palm Beach County, just wrapped up a few minutes ago, actually. We will take you there to hear about what these new bills that are now law will do and what they mean for protecting animals. He was speaking at an animal rescue in Loxahatchee just a little bit ago, so we will take you there in just a little bit. But we begin our show this morning with some disturbing details where a volunteer youth pastor from Osceola County is accused of sexually assaulting his two foster children, and he's scheduled to make his first appearance in court this afternoon. That's what we are watching for later today. Daniel Lampin charged with 24 counts of sexual battery, and as Fox 35's Matt Trezza reports, the Osceola County Sheriff is worried that there could be more victims.
Daniel Lampin has been booked into the Osceola County Jail. According to deputies, he doesn't have a criminal history in Osceola County. He could face a judge as early as today. Lampin is facing 24 charges for allegedly assaulting 2 of his former foster children. He was a youth pastor at the Connection Church on Generation Point. He was also the manager of a Chick-fil-A on South Orange Blossom Trail. Because of his access to children, the sheriff says there could be a good chance there are more young victims. Sheriff Marcos Lopez says Lampin's wife could also face charges.
Sheriff, was he a single foster dad?
I believe, Detective, he is married, so I'm assuming he's, like I said, this is just unfolding. I don't have a lot of information, but it's a good question. He was in a foster program with his wife.
Did the wife know about this? Is she under investigation?
We haven't spoken to her yet. That's why it's like an active investigation, and but we will get more details as this it reveals itself. And, you know, if so, potentially, she could be also receiving some charges.
The sheriff is asking anyone with information about Lampin or any other alleged victims to please contact Osceola County deputies. In Kissimmee, Matt Trezza, Fox 35 News.
Now to a Fox 35 exclusive where a dog and its owner are wanted after a dog attack at a Marion County dog park left 2 people injured and their 9-month-old puppy in critical condition. Fox 35's Marley Capper has those details.
Good morning. This is a dog owner's worst nightmare. You show up to a dog park hoping that your dog can maybe socialize with some other animals or just get some exercise. When it's attacked, that's exactly what happened. Fox 35 speaking exclusively to the family. They say they brought their 9-month-old Cocker Spaniel, May, and she was attacked by another dog. Right now, she's in the hospital with traumatic injuries, including a collapsed lung, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. Marion County Animal Control confirming May was brutally attacked by a dog. The victims say the dog who attacked May and its owners possibly ran off.
It took about 4 adults to get this dog off of May. She was screaming.
I used to work at a dog daycare and I've never seen a fight like this.
The couple says they were also bit as they tried to help intervene. Animal Control says it's possibly a pit bull or cane corso type dog that attacked May and her owners. Florida law says dog owners are liable for these attacks. If you know anything about this attack, you are urged to call Crime Stoppers. If you're wanting to help, there is a GoFundMe account to help with May's medical bills.
Oh, just heartbreaking. Well, we are gearing up for the potential for more storms this afternoon. Give you a live look right now in downtown Orlando. You can see sunny skies, not a whole lot of clouds out there at the moment, but we know thousands of lightning strikes came down during a storm. Yesterday, one of those lightning bolts sparked a fire and that sent flames shooting through the roof of a home in a Sanford neighborhood. This was in the Buckingham Estates neighborhood, and it sparked a massive fire. And Fox 35's Amanda McKenzie has that story.
The family was able to safely get out of their home with their 2 dogs after that lightning strike, and their home went up in flames. You can see the charred remains of their roof here along that line, and then all of the debris from that fire. Not much left of that roof. Neighbors say that lightning, that strike even rattled their homes and windows. Now in this video, you can see just how large the flames were as the fire towered above the home from the attic. Firefighters say when they arrived, they saw flames coming from the roof, propane tank, and the AC unit. Because of the size of the fire and how close this home is to others, neighbors had to evacuate as well.
Unfortunately, in Florida, when we have lightning strikes and it hits the attic fires are one of the hardest fires that we have. It's a large, expansive area. There's not a fire stop, and fire spreads quickly. And when you have fires exposed and through the roof, one of the tactics we have is to go defensive and put a lot of water on that fire.
Unfortunately, fire officials say the home could be a total loss. While firefighters believe lightning sparked the fire, the official cause will still be determined by the fire marshal. Reporting in Seminole County, Amanda McKenzie, Fox 35 News.
Fox 35 storm team meteorologist Brooks Garner joins me now. And Brooks, we saw some pretty significant storms yesterday.
We sure did, Garrett. Unfortunately, that house fire in the Sanford neighborhood of Markham Woods absolutely obliterating the home, a total loss. 1 lightning strike out of tens of thousands of lightning strikes yesterday, all thanks to the sea breeze, the heat, the humidity, and we've got all of the ingredients in place today for more of the same. But fortunately, I don't see as widespread of a coverage, but we're still going to have some isolated, stronger storms. Highs today, 93 in Orlando, 89 at Cocoa Beach, and 94 degrees in the Villages. We're going to have the storms coming in from the west for the most part today. The Gulf sea breeze will be stronger than the Atlantic sea breeze. So where they meet in the middle, won't be the geographical spine of Florida like it was yesterday, where it was like over Lake Apopka. It'll kind of maybe be more toward the St. Johns River on the sort of right-hand side of this blue stripe. This is the storm timing. The storms will start earlier in orange on both the west coast as well as on the east coast. Notice how there are no storms being projected for the Gulf Coast itself. It looks like the sea breeze will come in from the Gulf, and the storms will form just east of that. So probably just east of Denellen into Ocala between 2 and 5. And then on the other coast, on the Atlantic coast, Daytona, Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, probably closer to 2, and then working inland after that. And in the blue, we'll see the storms starting between 4 and lasting as late as 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And again, I don't see the coverage being quite as extensive, but we'll see a lot of lightning out of this one. That'll be a main threat, as it always is, but it was a stark reminder to see that beautiful home unfortunately burned almost to the ground as a result of one lightning strike. And it's a reminder of how dangerous it is, not just for stuff, but also for people. So lightning's going to be a threat as always, but especially today. Wind and hail, a possibility, and there is an outside chance also of a funnel cloud as the sea breezes collide later on this evening. Here's a look at the sea breeze storms forecast, future clouds and radar. By 2 o'clock, we'll see the first showers around I-75, and then the activity kind of also developing near the Atlantic coast with the sea breeze. That'll be kind of stuck to A1A. It's not really going to have a chance to make it well inland until maybe around 6, 7 o'clock, maybe just after the evening commute. That's where we'll see a blossoming of storms. We'll see the Gulf sea breeze and the Atlantic sea breeze colliding probably over Geneva, like Lake Harney, the St. Johns River area, maybe Chuliota, Edgewater, and then storms from there blossoming and then making a run toward the Atlantic coast into the evening. And we may see storms continuing through 9 or 10 o'clock. Now looking ahead, beyond the sea breeze storms we'll have every afternoon, this Wednesday, even a Thursday and a Friday. On Saturday, there's a physical cold front that'll, in a rare feat, make it into central Florida. Pretty rare this time of year that the fronts actually make it this far south. Usually they're kind of boxed away by a strong ridge of high pressure and a south wind that overwhelms it. But it'll make it in, and we'll have a round of some rain on Saturday morning, maybe some storms. Looks like the front will make it through just barely on Saturday evening, making for a pretty decent Sunday, June 1st, with rain-free conditions. But then it's going to come back at us as a warm front, so we're going to get back to the rain for the middle of next week. Concurrently, we've got a swath of some Saharan dust coming our way, blowing in from 5,000 miles away. The Sahara Desert has these huge windstorms, and it can loft up the dust and the sand and the grit up to about 15,000 feet and get blown straight across the Atlantic Ocean and then bring dust to our region. This happens every year, usually in the late spring into the first month or two of summer, and we've got it moving our way. So by June 1st, which by the way is the meteorological start of summer, which is June, July, and August, those 3 months where the Northern Hemisphere has the most likely summer conditions. It's right on par with it coming in for the first day of summer. Now the astronomical start of summer is June 20th. That's when we have the summer solstice. So that's different than the meteorological start of summer. June 1st is when we start to see the real summer pattern establishing across the U.S., and that's certainly holding true. But that dust is going to only get more intense as we look ahead to the future. In fact, as we get into like middle of next week, like Wednesday, we could see it getting pretty thick. And so the effect this would have is making our skies kind of cloudy looking, even though they're not, and it may affect respiratory, folks that are maybe a little less healthy, got asthma issues, COPD, all that stuff. It's something to stay inside for. But if you're healthy, it shouldn't affect you too much. I wouldn't not go running that day unless it's really intense where you can see it like in the movie Interstellar, where it's dust in the rays of sunshine. I don't think it's going to be that intense. But if we're lucky, most of the dust will stay just south of the area. All right, let's talk 7-day forecast. Interstellar, such a good movie. I'm always making these Matthew McConaughey references, Garrett. 93 degrees for today and tomorrow, 90 on Friday. Rain chances going up with that front moving in for Saturday. We get a break in the action on Sunday. Sunday also is the start of the hurricane season before it comes back Monday and Tuesday with more showers and storms. So that is the latest. We've gone from a dry, drought-ridden spring to suddenly summer. Amazing.
Yeah. Just like that. Time bending, just like Interstellar.
You know what, Garrett? I'm such an Interstellar fan. I got the watch. This is the watch Matthew McConaughey wore in Interstellar. It's just a cheap old Hamilton, nice. But it's not an expensive watch, but it's the watch from the movie, and that's the one that, if you remember, he syncs it up with his daughter's watch because he's about to go space traveling and he's going to be in a different time scale. Anyway, touching movie and a great timepiece.
There you go. How about that? Fox 35 Storm
We're covering
Team.
all of it.
That's right. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner, we appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure as always, Garrett. See you tomorrow.
As we go to break here on Fox 35 News Plus, give you a live look along our Space Coast from the Launch Credit Union camera, where just a little bit ago, SpaceX launched 27 more Starlink satellites from Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. About an hour and a half ago or so that we saw that launch. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more Fox 35 News Plus after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Governor Ron DeSantis was in Palm Beach County this morning, speaking at Big Dog Ranch Rescue, an animal rescue organization in Loxahatchee, where he signed 2 animal rights bills. Here is the governor talking about what those now laws will do.
We're proud to not just say things, but actually do things that further this really important mission. Now, one of the bills today involves caring for animals and caring for pets during these natural disasters. So when we have the storms brewing, and look, we're getting ready to start hurricane season. We're going to do some announcements on that in the coming days. Everyone needs to be prepared. Now, I am hoping that we get a break this year. I mean, we had 6 majors in 7 years. We had 2 majors last year, and then 1 additional. This is something that they kind of tend to go in bunches, and then sometimes you get a respite. Who knows, right? I mean, I can't predict. When they predict there's not going to be then that and that, and so it doesn't really. So who knows what'll happen? Hopefully we don't have to deal with it. But I can tell you, when we see a storm on the horizon, when we start ramping up the public messaging, one of the things we've been stressing is if you evacuate, make sure you're taking care of your pets. You cannot leave a dog behind if you're in an evacuation zone. All of our shelters, all of our counties have at least 1 shelter that is pet friendly. And we have told people, we do deals with the Restaurant and Lodging Association so that virtually any hotel will allow, during a state of emergency, dogs to go and your pets to go with you if you need shelter in a hotel room. So there's really no reason that you would need to be in a situation where you're leaving a dog behind. Now, we had a scene that was really sad to see as Hurricane Milton approached Florida last year in October of 2024. The trooper that's here with us today, Orlando Morales, he came across an abandoned dog tied to a fence on the side of Interstate 75, left to face the storm alone. Now, that's bad enough, but the water was rising very quickly, and so it was getting close to his neck, and had he just been left there, he may have ended up drowning or even have other things happen given the storm. So Trooper Morales pulled over, freed the pup, and brought him into his patrol car as the hurricane was approaching. This got a lot of attention in terms of social media and even legacy media. And so the dog has now been named Trooper. The dog's now in a safe and thriving home in Broward County. And the owners, Frank and Carla, wanted to be here today, but they're under the weather, so they weren't able to be. But we want to thank them and acknowledge them for giving Trooper a good home. It was a close call, but I'm glad that things worked out for the dog and for both Frank and Carla. Now, this story is exactly the type of cruelty that we cannot tolerate in the free state of Florida. We're a law and order state, and that includes the need to prosecute those who are derelict in their duty to take care of their own pets. So today I'm going to sign Trooper's Law, legislation that makes it a third-degree felony to restrain and or abandon a dog outdoors during a declared natural disaster or any time in which a mandatory or voluntary evacuation order is in effect. Leaving a dog chained up in the path of an ongoing storm is inhumane, and under this law, it will be a crime that carries up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. The bill also codifies penalties for failing to provide confined animals sufficient food, water, and exercise, and for abandoning an animal as misdemeanors of the first degree with similar fines. This law, Trooper's Law, sends a clear message. Florida will not tolerate cruelty towards animals, especially in times of crisis. Now, what happened to Trooper is unfortunately not an isolated incident. Across Florida, we've seen horrifying instances of animal cruelty that demand a stronger response from our justice system. One of the worst examples was the case of Dexter, a shelter dog in Pinellas County, who was adopted only to be found brutally decapitated just 4 days later. Current sentencing guidelines don't match the gravity of these crimes, and it was evident that Florida law needed to do more to protect dogs from senseless violence. So today, I'm also proud to sign HB 255, also known as Dexter's Law, which strengthens penalties for aggravated animal cruelty and ensures the offenders are tracked and punished accordingly. The bill will apply sentencing multiplier, and it also creates Florida's first ever animal abuse database, making sure that shelters and the public have a right to be made reasonably aware of individuals convicted of animal cruelty in their community. The bill is narrowly tailored to only apply to acts of cruelty against domesticated companion animals. This does not in any way, shape, or form impact Floridians' right to hunt and fish as that is traditionally done. So I want to thank the members of the legislature that supported this legislation. I think Florida will be better off once it's signed and enacted into law. And it just shows that when issues arise, Florida steps up, we lead, and we get the job done. And with that, we'll hear from some of our speakers. So we'll start with David Kerner from Palm Beach County.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for your leadership on not just this very important issue, but all the issues that face the state of Florida and our beloved Floridians. As a Palm Beach County native, it is a pleasure to be back home here in Palm Beach County for just a little bit, and particularly here at Big Dog Ranch Rescue. And on behalf of the Florida Highway Patrol, it's a very special honor to join our great governor, Governor Ron DeSantis, Lori Simmons, Debbie Dorino, and our honored members of the legislature for this very special and important bill signing. But most certainly, it is a huge honor for all of us to join all of you, the fighters and the soldiers and protectors of animals in need and love and rescuing. I thank you for what you do. I know how passionate you are, and I want you to know that it makes a very big difference in the lives of the animals that need rescuing and love.
That was Governor Ron DeSantis and Dave Kerner from the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles talking about Dexter's Law, which, as he explained, creates that online database of animal abusers. Also, Trooper's Law that really tightens up penalties for people who abandon restrained animals in natural disasters. Hopefully something that we never see again. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back. Thanks for watching Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and we appreciate you joining us this morning live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Just a few days away now from the start of hurricane season, scheduled to start on June 1st. That would be this coming Sunday. Been a lot of talk about the preparations. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz holding an event right now with a number of different agencies, the Red Cross, the National Hurricane Center, the Florida National Guard. They've been going strong for a couple of hours now as they walk through a lot of different aspects of hurricane preparation, hurricane response. But I want to play for you a clip where we also hear from the National Hurricane Center, where they are not just talking about the outlook for the upcoming season, talking about some historic trends as well, and also about how some new technology is improving the forecasting when it comes to hurricanes. Take a listen.
The low end of those forecast ranges is about at normal levels, but you can see it's either going to be probably normal to above normal with only a 10% chance of below normal activity.
And last season, was that also
above normal? Yes, across the board, storms, hurricanes, major hurricanes as well. These are the list of the names for the season so far. At this point, I can tell you the next 7 days look quiet as are our tropical weather outlook, so that gets us into June. But the first storm will be Andrea this year. List. In terms of the sort of overall scene setting that's going to happen for the season, we've been in a high activity era now for about the last 30 years, going back to the mid-1990s. And the background conditions that have driven that are warm ocean temperatures or warmer than normal ocean temperatures across the tropical Atlantic, and expected to continue this year, not as warm as last year, which was record-breaking, but warm as well this year. Below average vertical wind shear, so less change of wind speed and direction with height, which tends to tear storms apart when they develop. We're not expecting a lot of that this year. More activity across West Africa in terms of rainfall that will result in stronger tropical waves that are the seedling disturbances for most of the hurricanes that develop in the deep tropics. and weaker easterly low-level winds, which all sort of result in an overall favorable environment across the Atlantic main development region. And it's important to emphasize that the vast majority of the hurricane activity happens in this August, September, October timeframe. In fact, the most vulnerable time for us in South Florida is in that late season, October period. The other big factor this year is we're not expecting El Nino to be present. El Nino during this active era has served as a way to impede some of these favorable conditions. We're in a neutral phase, and that's expected to continue through the hurricane season. So there really won't be that breaking factor on these overall favorable conditions.
When you say it impact these improved conditions,
they're favorable, yeah. So
favorable conditions, as in if the El Nino is not present, it's more likely storms will be stronger.
Yes. Yeah, more likely there'll be more activity.
Yeah.
So with El Nino tends to
I thought it was the
increase.
opposite.
No, yes.
I don't speak weather.
Yeah.
So.
So when you have El Nino, you tend to have stronger upper level westerly winds across the deep tropics, which impede storm development. That's not going to be present this year. So without that, these other sort of ocean and atmospheric factors will drive the activity for the most part. And that's why we're expecting an above normal season. But again, our message is always that regardless of how much activity there is, everybody in South Florida in particular has to be ready every year. We're vulnerable the entire hurricane season, all the way from June through November. And as I mentioned, even late in the season is some of our highest risk. To show some demonstration of our forecast improvements over the years, what you're looking at on the left is our average track forecast error by decade. You can see very steady progress over the last 30 to 40 years. Our average track forecast error now is less than 200 miles out 5 days in advance. Compare that to 25 years ago, it was almost 300 to 400 miles. But the big story is on the right-hand side. You can see this is our intensity error. How strong are the storms going to be? You can see very little progress was made from the 1970s through the 2000s. But in the last 15 to 20 years, we've made significant improvements in improving our intensity forecasts of storms, as I mentioned, about improved modeling, improved ability to forecast rapid strengthening. You can see at 3 days out, our average intensity error now is down to about 10 miles per hour, whereas 20 years ago it was 20 to 25 miles per hour. So significant improvements have been made there. Here's an example. This is Helene last year that went from a 35 mile per hour disturbance, not even a tropical depression yet, to a Category 4 hurricane in 84 hours. This was one of the most aggressive intensity forecasts the Hurricane Center has ever made. It was the first time we had forecast the system on the left, which wasn't even a tropical depression, to become a major hurricane within that, actually in this case, within about 3 days. And so that's when I talk about we're able now to anticipate some of these rapid changes. This is a forecast we never would have made 5 or 10 years ago. We would have probably forecast a strong tropical storm or maybe something that was right at hurricane intensity. Rob can testify to that too, and Gus. We now have tools that enable us to make a lot more aggressive forecasts.
Now with the funding being cut, do you still have those tools?
Those tools as they exist now continue to, yeah, we still have the tools we have. We just need to make sure that we continue to make improvements because as this graph shows, we're not perfect. When we have rapid intensification now, our 1 day forecast error is off by about 15 to 20 miles per hour.
That's a lot.
But 15 years ago, we were off by 30 miles per hour. So we've cut that about 40, 45%, but still a lot of room to improve.
And that's really directly because of the investments that have been made over time.
Absolutely. Hurricane Hunter aircraft, getting observations into the storm, getting those observations into the forecast models like HWARF and HAVs have really paid dividends. So what we're doing new for 2025 at the Hurricane Center, this is actually something continued from last year. We had an experimental version of our cone graphic that shows the inland tropical storm and hurricane watches and warnings. So we're very glad we had that last year because this is an example from Helene where you can see almost the entire state of Florida covered by tropical storm or hurricane warnings, well into Georgia and the Western Carolinas. This will continue in experimental form this year to, again, gather comments and feedback and be able to make improvements to that. Rip current risk. We're going to debut a rip current risk viewer map on hurricanes.gov this year to help highlight the risk of rip currents associated with tropical storms and hurricanes. These are forecasts that come out of local National Weather Service offices like the one here in Miami, but this is a way to have a sort of a national or regional view of that. And Florida has had the most hurricane rip current related fatalities of any other state going back to 2013, almost 20. Talking about lead time and
it says people are going
Largely, and one of the biggest threats is storms that are well off the East Coast, maybe 1,000 miles away, generating dangerous ocean conditions on an otherwise nice day to go to the beach locally. But that's why there's warning flags and swim near lifeguards, and we put out these recurrent forecasts to make really trying to do a better job of raising that awareness. Speaking of lead times, so we introduced this concept of what we call potential tropical cyclones back in 2017, and allows us to get forecasts and warnings out for systems like Helene that were not even yet a tropical depression, but could bring hazards within 2 or 3 days to land areas. So this year, we're going to extend that lead time for those out to 72 hours in advance for high confidence of significant wind and storm surge impacts to land areas. So we'll be able to get that forecast information out even sooner. And then I do want to finally touch on post-storm heat risk. We're working with our partners at the Weather Prediction Center to highlight areas at risk of heat impacts after a storm. So we're going to be working with them to identify areas where there could be power loss by looking at our probabilities of getting strong winds, and then overlaying that with the heat risk mapping that the Weather Prediction Center provides, and see where those intersect, so that before a storm happens, we can start highlighting, okay, after the storm, there's going to be the potential for significant heat in this area where there could be loss of power and loss of air conditioning to try to get that post-storm town.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that within our recent hurricanes, we've had cyclones in neighborhoods. Tornadoes,
yes.
Tornadoes,
yes.
not cyclones. Tornadoes in neighborhoods that sort of came out of nowhere. And I don't recall maybe conventional storms.
Yeah, Milton in particular was a prolific producer of tornadoes, and almost every hurricane, when it makes landfall, has the potential for tornadoes to form, especially out away from the center in those outer rain bands. You may touch on this a little bit, Rob, in your talk, but Milton unfortunately had a real potent combination of ingredients that came together that resulted in a very large tornado outbreak over the southern part of the Florida Peninsula, and resulted in fatalities up in St. Lucie County. And there were unusually strong and long track tornadoes for hurricane associated systems. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Any more questions?
All that, and this is South Florida, so it should all be purple and dark red.
Well, to be fair, the heat risk is really localized. So what triggers a high level of heat risk in Florida will be different than what happens in Minnesota. So it is sort of tuned to the climatology of the area relative to the heat that people.
It is, but if we're dealing with
Power
and we
outages,
have
yes.
no power,
Absolutely.
then we're dealing with it's 90 outside and it's also 90 inside. So
That's right.
we're all purple.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to look at here, is how to intersect the power risk with the heat itself.
A lot of interesting information, especially when they're talking about some of those trends, and also how the forecasting is changing. Some helpful information there. I should note that if you missed our Fox 35 Storm Team Hurricane Season Preview special that aired on Monday, you can watch that full thing right now on Fox Local and fox35orlando.com. A lot of great information and inside looks there. Some ways to help you prepare if you have questions about that. So you can find that right now online. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this. The sights and sounds there, the music for the upcoming Disney Starlight Parade that you're going to be able to check out this summer at Magic Kingdom, debuting in July, and a lot of excitement for that. Some changes being put in place for that as well, so some things you need to know when it comes to that Starlight Parade. And joining us live now via Zoom is Drew Smith. You know him as Drew the Disney Dude. And Drew, we appreciate you joining us this morning here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Yeah, very happy to talk about this one. This is the first nighttime parade at Walt Disney World in nearly a decade. We finally have the date, July 20th. So we are just over 50 days away from seeing Magic Kingdom illuminated with this incredible parade.
So first, when you hear that music, it kind of gets the juices going, gets you all excited for that parade.
Yeah, I was so happy last night to see Disney finally reveal the music for this parade. Funny enough, there was actually a Facebook ad I saw a few months ago, and I was wondering if that little snippet was the music. Turns out it was right in front of our eyes the entire time. But like you said, it's just so exciting to see this classic Disney music. I think that a lot of people have been wanting something classic that just everyone can agree on, that everyone is looking forward to. And from what we've seen so far, from what we've heard so far, it seems like Disney is going to deliver on this parade. And like I said, July 20th, it's so close. But yeah, this parade's going to be special from everything that we've seen. I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, talk to us about what we can expect.
Yeah, so what you guys are seeing on screen right now, this is a first look at Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy's all new original outfits for this parade. This is the first time that we've seen them. It's not just concept art, this is reality. We also got a first look at some of the merchandise, also featuring Mickey in that new outfit. And this is the grand finale float, which is a train, a nod to the classic Main Street Electrical Parade. This parade's going to feature over 30 Disney and Pixar characters, with some of these characters appearing in a grand nighttime parade like this for the first time ever. I think the main one that I'm really looking forward to, because it's a Pixar character, and it's the main use of a Pixar character in this parade, is Miguel from Coco. Disney says there's going to be grand sounds of mariachi music as they roll their way down Main Street. So there's just such a great mix of classic and some of these new characters. Coco's beloved. Can't wait for that one. And what you guys are also seeing on screen right now is a first look at those floats illuminating for the first time ever, a little tease of what's to come. I'm super glad that we don't have like the full reveal yet, just a little bit of a tease of what they look like. I think they look incredible. The rehearsals are underway for this parade. So Disney, behind the scenes, they are working all out, going all in, making sure that this parade delivers up to the guest expectation of, I think, what we've been really hoping for, just something magical. And I like I said, I think they're really going to deliver on that with this one.
You mentioned Coco. Coco was made for a nighttime parade.
Yeah, Coco, I think there's just something special about Coco with the music. And that's why a couple months ago on a Disney Parks blog article, they're like, yeah, the Coco float, it's going to have this mariachi arrival moment. And that just feels so appropriate for, I think I've used the word like 5 times in this interview already, but I keep coming back to grand. The scale seems all out, you know, just with how tall Cinderella Castle is. And I feel like kind of how we're going to be looking up at these floats with the characters and having Cinderella Castle in the background on Main Street. I wonder if there was even thought put into that with the height of these floats with the facades on Main Street. I think that there's just so much love and effort, a whole labor of love from the team working on this parade. And even some of the people that worked on this parade worked on the Main Street Electrical Parade and Spectrum Magic, which are the previous parades at Magic Kingdom. So just their expertise and knowledge of those previous parades, bringing that, having a nod to the past while looking at the future. How do you go wrong there?
Why do you think there's such an appetite for another nighttime parade at Magic Kingdom after all these years?
I mean, yeah, I think it honestly kind of ties into what I just said with the previous parades, because those parades were so beloved. I think that people loved those so much. Those are some of their earlier Disney memories, myself included. You know, I was a kid when I was watching the Main Street Electrical Parade, and that's when I was obsessed with following the construction of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Here we are a decade later, and, you know, this parade's about to debut, and I get to cover it now. So that's a pretty surreal first full circle moment for me. But yeah, I just think that when you incorporate these classic characters and then you bring in classic music, that is the perfect recipe for a classic Disney offering. And I just think that everyone has been so excited for this. And then to see them reveal it and it to deliver on those expectations is what Disney really needs right now.
Now, there are some, this will impact it will mean some changes when it comes to entering the park. Talk to us about what this is going to mean for park reservations.
Yeah, so just this morning, Disney announced that because this parade is going to be so in demand, especially for locals annual pass holders, starting on July 20th, once this parade officially debuts, every single day of the week, you're going to need a park reservation to Magic Kingdom. Previously, and even right now, before July 20th, only on Saturday and Sunday, you needed a reservation for Magic Kingdom. Monday through Friday, you could just walk into the park after 2 p.m. But now, every day of the week, you're going to need a park reservation. If you want to watch the parade, go to Magic Kingdom first. Now, with that being said, you can still park hop to Magic Kingdom. So, for example, on July 20th, if those reservations fill up, let's say Animal Kingdom has a reservation available. Well, I can book that park reservation for Animal Kingdom, scan into Animal Kingdom, and then hop over to Magic Kingdom, depending on capacity. You know, if Magic Kingdom reaches capacity, well, they're not going to let people park hop. But definitely important to know if you are a pass holder, if you're local, I would highly suggest getting reservations sooner than later because everyone is going to want to be seeing this parade.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, that tells you that they're at least expecting quite a bit of demand for this.
Yeah, and rightfully so, in my opinion. When you're putting this much time, money, and effort into delivering a product like this, I think the absolute least that we can do is go and support it. And from all the reactions I'm seeing online, people are very excited for it. So, like you said, seeing Disney acknowledge that, I think is a good heads up, and it just gives people time to play in, especially over 50 days in advance.
Now, that's just a part of what's going on at the parks this summer. We've talked about it a little bit. The Cool Kids Summer, a lot going on at just about every Disney park.
Yeah, Disney is going all out on the family entertainment, especially this parade. That's also a part of it, just coming a little bit later down the road. But I had the opportunity to check out all of this Cool Kids Summer stuff these last couple days. That's why I have the sunburn. That's why my voice is not normal. I'm very tired right now. But the highlights for Cool Kids Summer that I saw personally, what you guys are seeing on screen right now, this is Goofy Core Communicore Hall at Epcot. The kids that I saw dancing and playing with Goofy, some of the most fun that I've even had just spectating what's going on around me. There's this really cool prop in the middle of Communicore Hall. It's called the Goofy's Game Machine, and a performer pulls the lever, a random game pops up on the screen, and then the kids all get excited to go get to play that game. So even with the B-roll you guys are seeing, I don't even think it shows it justice because the energy in person is just so much better. Also, another one, what you guys are seeing now is the Big Top Bash over at Magic Kingdom's Storybook Circus. This one kind of really leans into the idea of a circus with the performers. You have the games. Pluto even appears here. It's just a perfect fun way for families to have fun at Walt Disney World this summer, especially with, you know, kids necessarily not having the ability to want to wait in line or with the sun. You know, Goofy Core at Communicore, that's inside in the AC. So with the summer heat and with all the crowds, with the rain even, it's just such a perfect flex space. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of Communicore Hall by any means. I think that Disney could have done a lot more with it. But in this situation, I will give them credit for making the most of that space that they can possibly do. When you give an offering like this with a character like Goofy that kids know and love, and they can have fun without waiting in line, just pop in there at any point throughout the day, I think that's a major win. So Cool Kids Summer is definitely off to a fantastic start, in my opinion, out here. And then we have Starlight coming soon, which I am super pumped for, if you guys haven't picked up on that already.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to. You know, like you said, it's great to have those, the ability to kind of pop in when you need a little bit of a break, because we know that Florida summer is here, the heat, the humidity, the sun. So nice to have those opportunities there whenever you need them. Drew Smith, Drew the Disney Dude, we appreciate you joining us this morning here on Fox 35 News Plus.
Thanks so much for having me on. And also, I will say real quick, don't forget, Hollywood Studios also has The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure, and Disney Villains Unfairly Ever After. 2 new shows there as well, also a part of all these live entertainment offerings.
All right, a lot of fun stuff going on at Disney this summer. Drew, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning. Affordable housing, one of the major issues facing the city of Orlando. That's according to Mayor Buddy Dyer and what he was saying earlier today. He was at the ribbon cutting for 150 affordable housing units at Palm Gardens, Orlando, a project that transformed an older hotel into affordable housing. One-bedroom apartments reserved for low-income residents, and one of the first projects approved by the Accelerate Orlando initiative. Here's Mayor Dyer speaking at the news conference unveiling this project just a little bit ago.
You know, when you get asked what are the biggest issues in Orlando, homelessness and affordable housing would be at the top of the list, along with transportation, I suppose. But we remain committed to making sure that everybody that wants to live in Orlando can live in Orlando and have access to quality housing. So we have a short-term plan, we have long-term strategies, but most significant is having partnerships. And the city has assisted in development of affordable housing through expedited permitting, impact fee waivers, reduced parking requirements, building permit fee rebates, and incentives. We've also invested dollars wisely to grow and preserve our housing stock. Most importantly, during COVID, one of the good things that came out of COVID was we got $58 million in ARPA funding, and unlike some other communities, we dedicated 100% to affordable housing and to homeless initiatives, and that is where some of the funds, or this is where some of the funds went. $4 million from our ARPA funds went to help with these 150 units here at Palm Gardens. So I want to thank One Stop Housing, Synovus Bank, Cushman & Wakefield. Their partnership and leadership allowed this project to go from inception to completion. And a lot of you are probably on this property for the first time, but I wish you could have been on this property 2 or 3 years ago. It was, if you were looking for city employees, they were mostly OPD that were visiting this site. And now it's our housing department, which is fantastic. Also want to thank One Stop Cares, the Homeless Services Network, and of course Orange County Public Schools for their efforts on the needs of the residents. Also want to commend city staff. We sometimes forget to thank them. So the Housing and Community Development, Economic Development, Business and Financial Service, and of course the city attorney team that helped to facilitate that. Let's give everybody I just named a big hand. And now I would like to call on the District 3 Commissioner, Robert Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a really great place. One of the things I remember, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I asked about where I was going, and they said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, it's the old Howard Johnson's." And they said, "Howard Johnson's?" And I said, "Yeah, Ambassador Howard Johnson. I mean, I used to come here years ago and come to the restaurant here." And I said, "You really are old." And I do feel old. This is such a great opportunity for us to take the money. I want to tell you, one of the things that's important, and I'm glad you're here, Tony, because I think it's important. We as a council said we're going to take that money and we're going to reinvest it back in our community. And I want to appreciate your support for that in this project in my district. Thank you very much. Let me say thanks to a couple other people. First, where's Mark? Mark, thank you. This inspiration would probably, this wouldn't have occurred without your inspiration. I appreciate that and the work that you've done. I want to thank, where's Mo Campbell? There you are. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you do here with One Stop Cares. Wraparound services are important and vital to what we're accomplishing, and I think that becomes as important as building the building. But I think it's great. Let me also say thanks to Kevin from Synovus, and also Glenn. You get a chance to talk. I want to say thank you very much for your work, and you've inspired me. I'm going to take a little bit of a personal privilege, and since I'm not running for re-election, I can do this. So I do want to mention some of the staff that's here because I do want to call them out by name. This has been a yeoman's work, and we have done this all together. And we get a chance just to kind of be on this end of it. I'm telling you the work that was done by our staff. Let me first mention Lisa Portelli, who's kind of taking this thing on her shoulders. Where is she? Lisa, thank you very much. And just down the list, I'm going to go through them, and we'll give one good pause at the end. Executive offices, FJ Flynn and Brooke Bonnet. Executive offices, the city attorney, Lisa Pearson and Wesley Powell. Did I see Wesley? I thought Wesley earlier. There you go. Okay. Of course, Lisa Fratelli, Housing and Community Development Department, Orrin Henry, Sonia Connerval, Stephanie Navis, Jessica Fry, Antoinette Cannon, and Harold Watson. Did I miss anybody from that department? If I did, I apologize. Economic Development, Lillian Scott Payne and Elizabeth Dang. I saw Elizabeth here. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for your work. And Thea Walker and Jason, I'll never get it. Jason W. Jason, I apologize. When we started this project, we asked the community about it, and they were scared to death. Because what they perceived they were doing is we were just doing nothing more than just kind of, putting lipstick on a pig, if you want to call it that. And we have found that with this project and the work that you've done, and the way we have looked at those clients that are coming in, their long-term, short-term needs, the way they will continue to work and call this their home, it has been a significant change in the community. And Mayor's right. We had in 1 year 500 or 600 calls here from OPD. And I don't know that we've had 10 calls from OPD since we started this project. And it's done because you care about the people that are here and you care about affordable housing. And I'm so grateful for that. I want to thank you very much. Stephanie Vanos is here, so I'm from the school board, and we'll get a chance to recognize her in just a minute. But I want to say thank you to everybody involved. This is difficult work, difficult politically, and difficult from a financial standpoint, but we've pulled it off. And so I will tell you that now that we've done it, let's go do another.
Robert Stewart, District 3 Commissioner from the City of Orlando, and Mayor Buddy Dyer talking about this new affordable housing that is now available at Palm Gardens, Orlando, transforming, as you heard Commissioner Stewart talk about, an old hotel into these affordable housing units. So we'll have more on that coming up later. That's going to do it for us this morning here on Fox 35 News Plus. Just about out of time. I want to let you know a couple of things coming up in the noon hour that we'll bring you here on Fox Local. We're going to hear from the UCF men's and women's basketball coaches. This is the Big 12 meetings week going on in Orlando, so we've got a lot of stuff with that. We are going to hear today from the UCF men's and women's basketball coaches. Tomorrow, I believe, we'll hear from football coach Scott Frost and then Terry Mahajer on Friday. I believe those are the correct dates, but a lot of coverage of that with those meetings happening right here in Orlando. Going to hear from some UCF officials here shortly. Also, Congressman Darren Soto getting ready to speak at MCO, make some announcements about some grant funding. So we'll have that for you coming up in just a
No, but I sent him a funny note after all this Belichick stuff. And went like, so.
I sent him, so how's the new job with an upside down smiling face?
No, it was. Well, they still have, by the way, they still have, we haven't talked to these players.
Yeah.
This is like in May and they haven't talked to any of the players on the team.
But they won't talk to those guys like at all.
And that's what I was told. I talked to someone who works in Charlotte. They told me they don't believe that they'll get any players until first week of the season, the first leading into the first game of the season.
I wouldn't be surprised if they basically have like 3 designated guys that talk, and that's it the whole year.
It's horrible because think about like, and I'm not trying to be like, but if you're not in newspaper sites, you need content. How are you gonna write content if you can't?
That's why I hated Gus, because like the content was like you get like the 1 or 2 players you don't want to talk to anyway on Monday. That's it. You can't even talk.
Then you're sitting there trying to explain to somebody, well, why did he ask about the kicker? Why did he ask about it? Who am I supposed to talk to? The linebacker? How was the kicker this week?
I feel like it got a little bit better at the end. Not necessarily checked out, but I feel like between from 22 to 23 to 24, I feel like it got progressively shorter, a little bit better. Not like perfect, but I don't think you're really gonna ever expect it.
I wonder if everyone's in their little bubble. I wonder how much that is recognized
Just at our venue
by coaches, by APs, by other people, about how much diehard fans, even though the ratings on the team still as highest ever, how much they recognize the disillusionment there is, and how they need to do more to keep people interested. I think Mayor's fine.
We got a new boss.
Who's your new boss?
Kathy Lawson.
Oh, from South Florida?
Kevin Weber, yesterday.
Yeah.
Is technically my boss.
He's not Shelton Sampson on speed dial with the
Okay.
So I deal with him, I talked to him the
Well,
other
he
day.
got the one he had somebody from the photo department get back to me this morning, so that was.
He's good, I like him,
Yeah.
I dealt with Kevin a lot.
I didn't know whether they'd help or not, just because like they're not in network. So
No, he was.
Yeah, they're.
Him and Edgar and I know. So what's going on? Edgar Thompson, I know. He's the guy.
Right.
So, but they, so far, they seem to be. Thank you.
Yeah. Where'd Jay Michael go?
Ring Magazine.
Ring Magazine.
It's a magazine based on. It's a magazine based on boxing.
Oh,
and
okay.
And it was bought by a sheik from Dubai, who basically pumped a ton of money into it. So
People are slowly leaving the women's basketball coaches meeting.
So we're gonna get that. We'll get some team.
Yeah, we'll get some tea first for sure.
Well, she doesn't know she's gonna come running out.
I mean, even once the men's coaches are done with stuff, they're fine with the coach.
Yeah.
Because it's in the complete other building.
Yeah.
Is this the only day the school-specific coaches are meeting? Like football isn't here today, are they?
No. Yeah.
Or is it just tomorrow? Like tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. Yeah. Like so, this is just like basketball today, and then like when this is done, they're done. Like they're done with everything.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Well, they like to.
It sounds like they have meetings all day today.
And then they're done. Okay.
Your guess is as good as mine. I feel like I work hard. Well, no, I knew where to park. I know what to park.
Yeah.
I'm glad I saw him. I honked. I didn't figure out he didn't know.
No, now it's good foundation.
Make it a $40 soundbite.
Careful, guys, be careful with the TMS.
All right. I'm sure she's like, I just had to sit through a meeting and discuss stuff. Now I got to come out here and automatically be on camera. I mean, come on.
How's everyone?
How are you? How you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you guys for having us.
Glad you guys are here.
Yeah.
Great, you had first day of Big 12 meetings. How did it go?
It was great having the Big 12 meetings here in Orlando and, you know, seeing colleagues and just talking about our league and how we're going to help grow it and the things we're going to do, you know, to make the Big 12 one of the most competitive leagues in women's basketball.
I mean, obviously there's a lot going on in college athletics with the House settlement, rev share coming up and all those kind of things. How much did that dictate maybe what you guys were discussing with the field?
We talked a lot about revenue share and just the settlement and how, you know, we're going to tackle it as a league and make sure that we're being competitive against and with the other conferences.
Yeah. What are the major points of those conversations and trying to stay competitive and stay at the top of college basketball?
We talked a lot about, you know, when it comes to revenue share, we talked about scheduling. Okay, we got to go schedule good teams to make sure that we're represented and that we're doing well in the NCAA tournament. So we talked about that. We talked about how do we promote each other in each university. And so I thought it was very, very productive. It's been a great productive meetings and the weather is good. People are enjoying Orlando, and so we're having a great time and just excited to have our conference here in Orlando.
How much of these discussions, as coaches, you guys all go through similar challenges, and you talk about the portal and, you know, having to rebuild a roster almost every year, it seems like, especially, you know, everyone almost goes through this. How much of those discussions with your colleagues are going on that about how challenging that's become?
I think we're very open about it, and I think you have to be in this day and age because it's different, right? And as a coach, you have to elevate to the level of the changes, and it's flipping your roster pretty much, you know. And so we talked about that. How do we help each other? How do we also go about this in a respectful way? And I think that we had some productive days in doing that. But it's definitely a new day in college coaching. And, you know, we just got to continue to level up and be competitive with other conferences.
You just talked about flipping your roster.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of signees come through the last few weeks. Tell us about some of these new additions that you're going to have on your team next year.
Oh, well, we're excited about, you know, the new additions. It's always good to be able to start from scratch and to be able to start our own era, okay? And we're excited about the returners, too. I mean, Mahogany led us in offensive rebounding. She's just a sophomore. Kai led us in rebounding, and she's just a junior. So we're excited about that and adding on some talent with us. We were able to get a point guard, Leah, out of the University of Miami, and it's the first time we feel like we've had a true point guard in a few years. And so I think to be able to lean on her and her experiences, and she and I have already gone to lunch and talked about how we're going to run this program together. So we're excited about the future.
When you're flipping a roster, what does building a program look like?
It's three things I look for: character, academics, and basketball. That's what it looks like to me. I want to make sure as we're flipping the roster, we are getting kids in here with good character, okay? That's not to say the players don't come with their issues. Academically, you know, we got to make sure we're competing and doing the right things in the classroom and winning games. So when I'm flipping a roster, I'm looking for a player that can, you know, elevate with those three characteristics. Is important.
Has it gone the way you expected it to go, or if you had roadblocks?
Oh no, I think of course you're going to hit some roadblocks. Okay, I can't say we didn't, but I am excited and about the players that we have coming and the players that are going to continue to help us.
You look at rev share, yeah. I mean, how it's going to work for you guys. I'm sure you've had meetings with Terry about this and what's going to look like, but what's the challenge, do you think, for the first year in rev share for you guys as a program?
The first thing, challenge is, you know, I think with most universities, you always want more, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we of course want more so that we can go out and compete against and get those top players. But I think it's evaluating. You have to really do a great job of evaluating. You got to be able to be fair and try to give prospects their market value. So there's constant conversations on getting that right player for the right amount.
You've gone through the Big 12 now, 2 full seasons, so you've been to most of the venues. What will it take to kind of get UCF over the hump and getting to a point where you can compete for the NCAA tournament?
Well, that's going to take time, okay? And it would take, as we just talked about, with rev share, being able to go out and have the right amount of money and going to get a top prospect. And, at this day and age is what it's about. But it's going to take time. This is going into our 3rd year in the Big 12. We were predicted in women's basketball, okay, lower than what we finished. We finished higher than what we were predicted. So that's improvement. So that's the hump. You got to improve every year get better and better. And that'll take time, but we're going to keep working hard and, bringing the right prospects in here. This season we had an all-conference freshman team player. We had a second-team all-conference player. In 2 years, that's not bad.
What challenges are you facing as it pertains to retention? Is it just strictly about dollars and cents, or are you having further issues in terms of keeping the best players on your team?
For us, it was a lot about, what prospects felt that was best for them and their family when it came to dollars and cents. And unfortunately, that's sometimes the day and age that you're living in. And, the kids that we wish them the best, that had to do what was best for them and their families, we wish them nothing but the best.
I asked this of Johnny also during the Crown. Do you think basketball is in a position with as much turnover as you're seeing year on year, school on school, where basketball is in a sustainable position? Oh,
absolutely. I think we are. I think we're navigating, right, because we're weathering the storm right now, as all universities are. But I think we're having the conversations that we have to have to make sure that we sustain it, right? And we're fair across the board with the Power 4 schools. And that way you can go and you can compete and you can sell your university and who you are as a coach. I do think that we're having those conversations now, so it will be sustainable.
How has your sales pitch changed since when you first got here?
It's different. My sales pitch has changed a lot. Let me open. Where's my purse? No, joking. No, joking. My sales pitch is this and changing. The number one thing is that you got to figure out what's important to those kids, okay? And two, you have to also figure out what is their non-negotiables, okay? And if we can't meet that financially from the beginning, then we have to move on. We just do. That's the difference.
How challenging is that conversation for you as a coach?
I ask them, what is your non-negotiable? And if they say it's a dollar amount that we can't reach, we have to go get the next best player to make sure we're competing.
It had been NIL, now it's going to be rev share with the House settlement when that gets finalized here soon. So how competitive is, your cut of the rev share compared to the rest of the Big 12? I know every coach always wants more.
Yeah. I think you're right. Every coach wants more, and we're still trying to figure that out, and asking questions and figuring out where we UCF when it comes to rev share versus other universities. So I don't know that answer. I do know this: we're going to go out and get the best with what we're given. We're maximizing what we have, and that's what's important.
How chemistry feels to me like it would be the most important, especially when you're turning over your roster year and year. How do you have to change maybe your approach on building chemistry, or do you change your approach of building chemistry when you have new players? It seems like every year.
You do have to change your approach on building chemistry. One of the things that we did last year, we had over 30 hours of team bonding that we just did to make sure that our kids understood that, once you have that chemistry, then the rest, you're going to want to run and get the ball and go after a hustle and give more. So I've been intentional about scheduling bonding just because it's a whole new team each year.
And how do you mentioned how, non-negotiable, when you sit down with a player, how is it when when you're sitting down with and you're having that discussion, you don't want to see other players, how much are you making? How much are you making? How do you kind of avoid that? Or is that something you can avoid to maybe make sure the locker room doesn't?
Well, you know, this is the first year that I think fully we've experienced it at UCF, so I don't know that experience yet. We've had a few in the past that's gotten paid, but you know, for the majority of our players, you know, the biggest thing is now players, you want to be pros. You got to act like you're a pro. So you don't tell exactly everything that's going on within your household. Hopefully that helps a lot, but you can't, you know, hide the conversations and the questions. But what you have to do is let your game speak for itself, and then I think the rest will follow.
All right, thanks everyone.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it so much.
The other women's coaches will get started in the media room. Okay. Oh yeah.
Yes.
I took some money.
Oh, good. Social media, man. Speaking, this is half of it. Social media is half of it.
She wants you in the shot, man.
Well, you know, I usually am.
Yeah, you're right.
He's a big fan of bow tie.
Yeah, that's what it is. So.
Thank you guys for coming out, covering us, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure you get time to eat lunch before you gotta go to your next.
Guys, how's everyone doing today?
Good, bro. How are you doing today?
I'll catch up with y'all later, but nice to see you. Thanks for being here today. Okay, we appreciate that. Coach, you doing okay? Nice to see you guys.
Good to see you today. Yes, everything's
I'll be with you guys this afternoon. Matt, you organizing this?
I think the other women's coaches has, the other women's coaches getting started in the media room right now. Okay, so what about Johnny? Well, I'll hold him off until. He's got more time. Okay. What's going on? The other women's coaches are starting right now. If you guys want to catch them. They're gonna hold him until when? I don't know, until after. Until after some of these guys, I guess. They want us to go in there and.
If you want to get the other women's coaches, yeah. No, I think it's the women's coach. I don't think any of those on the men's coach. That's my opinion of what he was saying.
FAA reauthorization. We thank Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, my former colleague, for his support in these projects, and especially the local leaders we have here and those who work at GOA and at Kissimmee Gateway Airport for their hard work. MCO will receive nearly $15 million for the Terminal C expansion, which is continuing to be constructed right now. Over $12 million to expand the Terminal C awning, and $5 million for the multimodal connector pedestrian bridge that you see right behind you here. Kissimmee Gateway Airport will receive $1.5 million to reconstruct the existing lighting on Taxiway A that has reached the end of its life. Orlando is growing by leaps and bounds. We are now the 20th largest metro area in the country. Orlando International Airport is the 7th busiest airport in the nation. This is no surprise considering our growing number of residents and role as a top tourism destination. That's why the need for these projects is so great. They will continue to expand our capacity for air travel. This expansion is critical considering the trend of safety concerns and flight cancellations we've seen nationally to keep Orlando moving forward. During my time in Congress, we've worked to help secure over $350 million in federal grants for Orlando International Airport, including the Terminal C expansion, runway and road improvements, and rail expansion. We will continue to work together on our next big MCO airport projects, including a new TRACON to modernize our air traffic control system, a Sunrail Brightline expansion to the airport. Those projects are already in design phases. We're also working for a new tower for the Kissimmee Gateway Airport and a custom and border station to allow for international executive travel. The tower project is also already in design, and we are working on funding for the custom station. Together we can continue to protect our quality of life, boost our local economy, and keep Central Florida moving forward. We're joined next by GOA's CFO, Kathleen Sharman. Kathleen, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Congressman Soto, and good afternoon, distinguished guests. It is great to have you with us, Congressman, to announce this year's funding for our AIG Airport Improvement Grant projects. The South Terminal C expansion gates, the associated apron and airfield projects, and the ground transportation pedestrian bridge, again, as the Congressman pointed out, that you see right behind us. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to thank you in person for the great work you are doing on behalf of airports throughout Central Florida. I'm sure my colleague Sean would agree that your support is literally worth millions. As the busiest airport in the state of Florida, hosting more than 57 million passengers annually, let me just stop for a second. 57 million, if you divide that down by 52 weeks in a year, that's over 1 million passengers a week coming through this airport. Orlando International serves as an essential economic engine for the region, generating more than $41 billion in economic impact. That kind of activity is one of the reasons our airport is seen as a global gateway and is constantly making improvements to keep pace with the growing demand of our Central Florida region. In a few years, we'll be hitting 60 million passengers. So this year's AIG grant funding for these projects will help us meet the near-term passenger demand as these projects are being completed. And as we look to the future, in addition to some of the projects the Congressman mentioned, we'll also be competing in the ATP program, the FAA's ATP program, for several future projects that will elevate the passenger experience and enhance our operations, such as additional funding for our airside restroom restoration, which will improve the capacity and aesthetics of our restrooms, and renovations to our terminals A and B, including upgrades of existing interior finishes, seating, and lighting. Also, at Orlando Executive, our sister airport, we'll be seeking new funding for ramp and runway rehabilitation projects, which will help us ensure that our airfield assets meet operational standards and FAA requirements. As the Chief Financial Officer of the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, I am grateful, so grateful for your anticipated support as we compete for that funding that'll help us to continue our role as an economic engine, global connector, and one of this community's most important assets. In the meantime, thank you again for understanding the importance of Orlando International Airport and for helping us make good on our mission to seamlessly connect Florida and the world through exceptional experiences, collaboration, and creativity. Thank you. And now I think Sean is coming up.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Congressman Soto, GOA, for hosting this event and bringing attention to the importance of air transportation to central Minnesota. Many people understand the role of the Orlando What?
Florida.
Oh, did I say Minnesota? Cut that out. I'm from Minnesota, Central Florida. So everyone understands, I think, the role of the Orlando International Airport with the scheduled airline and passenger and cargo service. But I find it interesting, a lot of people don't understand the significant impact that we have as the Orlando Executive Airport and the Kissimmee Airport as general aviation reliever airports. What that means is we take the traffic that would normally congest the airspace here in Orlando away from that, and we cater to the business traffic, jets, corporate aircraft, private aircraft, recreational, helicopter traffic, and our robust flight activity programs. And so it's very important that these airports are well taken care of, and Congressman Soto realizes that. In the last couple of years has provided us support in gaining our grants for rehabilitation of critical pavements and lighting infrastructure at our airport. We recently have $1 million to oversee the design of our new air traffic control tower. The air traffic control tower was built with limited funds several years ago, lacks a lot of capacity, it needs upgraded equipment, and so we're very excited that the new tower will actually be twice the size or the height of the current one for better visibility on our airport. So it's a very significant project, very important. We have Congressman Soto's support to see this project through and to assist us with the construction funding that we hope to apply for here this fall. And as you mentioned, we're also trying to apply and obtain our Customs and Border Protection facility, which again will relieve traffic here in the Orlando area as we're growing, and there's a definite need for it, so we appreciate that. So Congressman Soto, thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Next, we'll hear from Orange County Commissioner Maribel Cordero. Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. So good afternoon. I'm Maribel Gomez Cordero, Orange County Commissioner, District 4. And District 4 is around here, and I share it with District 1, Commissioner Jim Gray. So I have to say that thank you. Thank you, Congressman Darren Soto, for this, all the efforts that you really bring to Orange County, to the city of Orlando, and to Central Florida. And this airport makes us feel very special, I have to say. But I want to also, well, not enforce, but to say that what the CEO said about, you know, because there are people that are asking, and they say, but there will be some remodelation in Terminal A and B, so that's good as well. Thank you so much, because, well, we want to be number one. So thank you, Darren Soto. Thank you, Congressman, Representative, everything. Thank you for everything you do for our Central Florida.
And thank you, Commissioner Cordero, for Orange County's amazing partnership here at MCO. Next, we'll hear from Mayor Espinosa of the city of Kissimmee. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you, everyone, for being here this morning. What a great day it is here in Central Florida as we unite not just Orange and Osceola, but also include our Kissimmee Executive Airport. As we've said many times, Kissimmee is open for business, and this just reemphasizes and refocuses us so that we can also continue working hard and diligently for our, not just our residents and our citizens, but for all the people that want to visit Central Florida, including the city of Kissimmee. So we are very grateful for the partnership, for our leadership in our city, within our city limits, and we want to thank Darren Soto for everything he's done, not just for us, but for all of the different counties and the different areas he represents. And now I present to you my city manager, Mike Steigerwald.
Good afternoon, and thank you again for being here. I don't think a lot of people know that Kissimmee has an airport, but Kissimmee Gateway Airport is actually one of the biggest generators of economic activity within Osceola County. Over $1 billion annually in economic impact. Over 5,000 jobs, both direct and indirect, are as a result of the activity at Kissimmee Gateway Airport. And so for us, in addition to the benefit to air travel within Central Florida, Kissimmee Gateway Airport for us is a job generator. It's a place where we can hopefully train our young people to stay within Osceola County, stay within Kissimmee, and have higher paying jobs and help to diversify our economy. And we couldn't do that without the investments that we make into the infrastructure within our community, and undoubtedly the assistance that we've gotten from Congressman Soto over the years in helping to bring that infrastructure investment to reality has been an invaluable partnership. So on behalf of the city of Kissimmee, I also want to thank you, Congressman Soto, and thank you all again for being here.
Mayor Espinoza and City Manager Steigerwald, we appreciate the Commission's vision to Kissimmee Gateway Airport for executive travel, soon to be international, as we're working on it, and also for pilot training and for aviation mechanic training. Key roles, as we see here in Orlando International Airport, the big one where we're having most of our tourists come in, we see great niches between the two of you, and I appreciate that partnership. Next, we'll have Orlando City Commissioner Jim Gray. Jim, thanks for being here, and thanks for Orlando's partnership at MCO.
Thank you, Congressman. And on behalf of the City of Orlando, and specifically my District 1, which I share with Commissioner Cordero, we are grateful for the efforts of the Congressman and his staff. You know, Congressman Soto has a history of helping secure federal funds for a lot of things. He's helped us with parks. He's helped us with libraries, and those are quality of life benefits for our residents. But this effort today, to me, speaks to economic development. And we all know when people come to our airport, and as we've heard, it's over $50 million a year, oftentimes their first impression of Central Florida is right here at this airport. And oftentimes their last impression of Central Florida is right here at this airport. So the more we can do to make that a positive experience, I think we all benefit from that. And Congressman, I'd just like to say your efforts continue to help us grow Central Florida, and we're all very grateful for that. So thank you very much, sir.
We're flanked here by all these local officials for an important reason. In addition to federal funds coming down, a lot of the airport is funded through local revenue, through the leadership of all these commissioners and executive directors and the folks at GOA. We appreciate the GOA board, too, that I just got to speak with just a few weeks ago. Lastly, I want to finish in español. Hoy nosotros estamos muy orgullosos para anunciar más de 33 millones de dólares por el aeropuerto de Orlando. Y también por el aeropuerto de Kissimmee. Yo estoy muy honrado para trabajar con ambos aeropuertos para tener cartas de apoyo por estos proyectos y vota para la reautorización de FAA. Y gracias al secretario de Transportación, Sean Duffy, por su apoyo. MCO va a recibir más de 15 millones de dólares por la expansión de Terminal C y más una expansión también de el puente para conectar esta área de la estación multimodo. Y también el aeropuerto de Kissimmee va a recibir más de 1.5 millones de dólares para ayudar con luces en este aeropuerto. Nosotros sabemos Orlando tiene crecimiento grande. Nosotros estamos en la área 20 en área de este país y nosotros vamos a continuar creciendo en este aeropuerto, que es 7 en la nación también. Entonces yo estoy muy orgulloso para trabajar con estos oficiales locales para ayudar nuestra economía, para proteger nuestra calidad de vida y para seguir nuestra área de Florida Central moviendo pa'lante. And thank you, everybody. That concludes our press conference. We'll do individual questions, but appreciate everybody coming.
Muy bien. Thank you very much. Well done. Well done. Good to meet you. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Did I never any of it good? Yeah, it was all good. It was all good.
I think and I won by 37%. And Charlie Kirk will tell you TikTok helped, but Charlie Kirk helped also. Oh, he just happens to be here. Look at him. He loves that we mentioned that name, right, Charlie? He's done great, and I appreciate all the help. But with young people, we won by 37%, Charlie, and you helped, but TikTok was amazing. And he was the first one. He said, get on TikTok. So I have a little bit of a warm spot. I know I shouldn't. They'll say quid pro quo, put him in jail for the rest of his life, quid pro quo. No, TikTok was very good to me. I won young people. I don't know if it was because of TikTok, but it was something happened. No Republican has ever won they call them young people. Young people, you can define it a lot of different ways, but I won every age group in young people. And it never happened, and won by 37%. That's a lot. Yeah.
Back on Iran, did you warn Prime Minister Netanyahu against taking some sort of actions that could disrupt the talks there in a phone call last week?
Well, I'd like to be honest. Yes, I did. Next question, please.
Just last one on sanctions.
I did, yeah.
If Senate Republicans want to push
It's not a warning. I said I don't think it's appropriate.
What exactly did you tell him? Did you
I just said I don't think it's appropriate. We're having very good discussions with him, and I said I don't think it's appropriate right now. Because if we can settle it with a very strong document, very strong, with inspections and no trust. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody. So no trust. I want it very strong where we can go in with inspectors. We can take whatever we want. We can blow up whatever we want, but nobody getting killed. We can blow up a lab, but nobody's going to be in the lab, as opposed to everybody being in the lab and blowing it up, right? Two ways of doing it. Yeah, I told him this would be inappropriate to do right now because we're very close to a solution. Now, that could change at any moment. could change with a phone call. But right now, I think they want to make a deal, and if we can make a deal, save a lot of lives.
When do you think a deal could happen on Iran?
On which?
A deal with Iran could happen. When do you
Oh, I
think?
don't know. I think over the next couple of weeks, if it happens. Yeah.
And on the, when could the administration resume the interviews for foreign students' visa? When do you think your administration could resume these interviews?
On what?
For the foreign student visa. Yesterday there was...
For the French visa?
For the French too, but all the foreign students.
Oh, for the foreign visas? What are you referring? Foreign visas for what? Are you talking about for colleges? Okay, so you're off of Israel. Now you're talking about colleges, right?
Yes, now.
Okay. Well, we're going to see. Look, Harvard has been a disaster. They've taken $5 billion plus. $5 billion. Nobody knew that they were making this kind. If we didn't do this, we would have never found this out, Pam. They're taking $5 billion. And I'd rather see that money go to trade schools. And by the way, they're totally anti-Semitic at Harvard, as you know, and some other colleges too, in all fairness to them. And it's been exposed, very exposed. And I think they're dealing very badly. Every time they fight, they lose another $250 million. Yesterday we found another $100 million. And they have, they have a fund, an endowment, $52 billion. All right? They get a lot of that from the United States. And I think it's ridiculous. I think everyone's coming up to me saying, we love the idea of trade schools with that kind of money, and money from others, but money from them. You can have the best trade schools anywhere in the world. You give them to Iowa, Indiana, lots of good states, well-run states, and you give them the money. They can only be used for trade schools, and they'll teach people how to build motors and cars and AI. The AI, we're building plants. We're building hundreds of billions of dollars worth of AI plants. Already started, many of them. We've never had a boom like we're having now. You're going to see it. There's never been anything like it. So we're up to about $14 trillion in investments. There's never been anything even close. You look at Biden, this guy, they had people leaving as opposed to investing. And they're doing it because of November 5th, and they're doing it because of the tariffs. The tariffs have been tremendous. I can promise you, and I have great respect for the people at the European Union, they wouldn't be over here today negotiating if I didn't put a 50% tariff on. The sad thing is now when I make a deal with them, it's something much more reasonable. They'll say, oh, he was chicken. That's so unbelievable. I usually have the opposite problem. They say, you're too tough.
Mr. President, on Harvard, there were some Jewish students protesting on campus yesterday. They said they don't want you making these huge cuts, cutting off student visas to Harvard in their name, because they feel
Harvard
like it
has to
makes them
show
more
us.
of a target.
Okay, Harvard has to show us their lists. They have foreign students. About 31% of their students are foreign-based, almost 31%. We want to know where those students come. Are they troublemakers? What countries do they come? And we're not going to, if somebody is coming from a certain country and they're 100% fine, which I hope most of them are, but many of them won't be, you're going to see some very radical people. They're taking people from areas of the world that are very radicalized, and we don't want them making trouble in our country. So I saw yesterday that in the middle of the UK, there was a nice young man. He wants to go back to school at Harvard, and he looked good to me, but I want to check his past. But we want to be able to see why, these countries aren't helping us. They're not investing in Harvard and all of we are. So why would 31%, why would a number so big? I think, number one, I think they should have a cap of maybe around 15%, not 31%. We have people who want to go to Harvard and other schools. They can't get in because we have foreign students there. But I want to make sure that the foreign students are people that can love our country. We don't want to see shopping centers exploding. We don't want to see the kind of riots that you had. And I'll tell you what, many of those students didn't go anywhere. Many of those students were troublemakers caused by the radical left lunatics in this country. All right, one more question.
President,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Will you pardon the people who are accused of conspiring to kidnap Michigan Governor Garrett Wymer?
I'm going to look at it. I will take a look at it. It's been brought to my attention. I did watch the trial. It looked to me like somewhat of a railroad job. I'll be honest with you. It looked to me like some people said some stupid things. You know, they were drinking, and I think they said stupid things. But I'll take a look at that. And a lot of people are asking me that question from both sides, actually. A lot of people think they got railroaded. A lot of people think they got railroaded. And probably some people don't. One more. Go ahead. Yeah.
How will the confrontation with Harvard end? Do you foresee?
I don't know. I don't know. Harvard's got to behave themselves. Harvard is treating our country with great disrespect, and all they're doing is getting in deeper and deeper and deeper. They've got to behave themselves. You know, I'm looking out for the country and for Harvard. I want Harvard to do well. I want Harvard to be great again, probably, because how could it be great? How could it be great when you have Harvard announced 2 weeks ago that they are going to teach remedial mathematics, remedial, meaning they're going to teach low-grade mathematics, like 2 + 2 is 4. How did these people get into Harvard if they can't do basic mathematics? How did they do it? I mean, people with 1,600 in their boards don't get in, and they're letting people in, and they're bragging about how they're teaching them basic mathematics. Where did these people come from? So we have to look at the list, and Harvard has to understand the last thing I want to do is hurt them. They're hurting themselves. They're fighting. You know, Columbia has been really, they were very, very bad what they've done. They're very anti-Semitic and lots of other things. But they're working with us on finding a solution. And, you know, they're taking off that hot seat. But Harvard wants to fight. They want to show how smart they are. And they're getting their ass kicked. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Headed right back out this door. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Head out. Thanks, guys. Let's go. Thank you.
Good luck, everybody.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good morning to you. Welcome to Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning, live on Fox Local, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us. We've got a lot to get to in this next hour. I want to let you know a little bit about what we have ahead of us here on Fox 35 News Plus. You're going to hear from Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer talking about affordable housing in Orlando. He was at a ribbon cutting this morning where the city has transformed an older hotel into 150 affordable housing units. And the mayor saying that affordable housing, one of the two major issues that are pressing in Orlando. We'll hear from him coming up in just a little bit. We're also going to hear from officials with the National Hurricane Center and other agencies talking about a number of things with hurricane preparedness, but interesting to note how some new technology is improving hurricane forecasting. We're just a couple of days away now from the start of hurricane season coming up on June 1st, and so all of this, of course, very pressing and important to keep in mind. We're going to hear more on that in just a little bit. Also, Governor Ron DeSantis signing some animal cruelty bills. He was in Palm Beach County, just wrapped up a few minutes ago, actually. We will take you there to hear about what these new bills that are now law will do and what they mean for protecting animals. He was speaking at an animal rescue in Loxahatchee just a little bit ago, so we will take you there in just a little bit. But we begin our show this morning with some disturbing details where a volunteer youth pastor from Osceola County is accused of sexually assaulting his two foster children, and he's scheduled to make his first appearance in court this afternoon. That's what we are watching for later today. Daniel Lampin charged with 24 counts of sexual battery, and as Fox 35's Matt Trezza reports, the Osceola County Sheriff is worried that there could be more victims.
Daniel Lampin has been booked into the Osceola County Jail. According to deputies, he doesn't have a criminal history in Osceola County. He could face a judge as early as today. Lampin is facing 24 charges for allegedly assaulting two of his former foster children. He was a youth pastor at the Connection Church on Generation Point. He was also the manager of a Chick-fil-A on South Orange Blossom Trail. Because of his access to children, the sheriff says there could be a good chance there are more young victims. Sheriff Marcos Lopez says Lampin's wife could also face charges.
Sheriff, was he a single foster dad?
I believe, Detective, he is married, so I'm assuming he's, like I said, this is just unfolding. I don't have a lot of information, but it's a good question. He was in a foster program with his wife.
Did the wife know about this? Is she under investigation?
We haven't spoken to her yet. That's why it's like an active investigation, and but we will get more details as this it reveals itself. And you know, if so, potentially she could be also receiving some charges.
The sheriff is asking anyone with information about Lampin or any other alleged victims to please contact Osceola County deputies. In Kissimmee, Matt Trezza, Fox 35 News.
Now to a Fox 35 exclusive where a dog and its owner are wanted after a dog attack at a Marion County dog park left 2 people injured and their 9-month-old puppy in critical condition. Fox 35's Marley Capper has those details.
Good morning. This is a dog owner's worst nightmare. You show up to a dog park hoping that your dog can maybe socialize with some other animals or just get some exercise. When it's attacked, that's exactly what happened. Fox 35 speaking exclusively to the family. They say they brought their 9-month-old Cocker Spaniel, May, and she was attacked by another dog. Right now, she's in the hospital with traumatic injuries, including a collapsed lung, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. Marion County Animal Control confirming May was brutally attacked by a dog. The victims say the dog who attacked May and its owners possibly ran off.
It took about 4 adults to get this dog off of May. She was screaming.
I used to work at a dog daycare, and I've never seen a fight like this.
The couple says they were also bit as they tried to help intervene. Animal Control says it's possibly a pit bull or cane corso type dog that attacked May and her owners. Florida law says dog owners are liable for these attacks. If you know anything about this attack, you are urged to call Crime Stoppers. If you're wanting to help, there is a GoFundMe account to help with May's medical bills.
Oh, just heartbreaking. Well, we are gearing up for the potential for more storms this afternoon. Give you a live look right now in downtown Orlando. You can see sunny skies, not a whole lot of clouds out there at the moment, but we know thousands of lightning strikes came down during a storm. Yesterday, one of those lightning bolts sparked a fire and that sent flames shooting through the roof of a home in a Sanford neighborhood. This was in the Buckingham Estates neighborhood, and it sparked a a massive fire. And Fox 35's Amanda McKenzie has that story.
The family was able to safely get out of their home with their 2 dogs after that lightning strike, and their home went up in flames. You can see the charred remains of their roof here along that line, and then all of the debris from that fire. Not much left of that roof. Neighbors say that lightning, that strike even rattled their homes and windows. Now in this video, you can see just how large the flames were as the fire towered above the home from the attic. Firefighters say when they arrived, they saw flames coming from the roof, propane tank, and the AC unit. Because of the size of the fire and how close this home is to others, neighbors had to evacuate as well.
Unfortunately, in Florida, when we have lightning strikes and it hits the attic fires are one of the hardest fires that we have. It's a large, expansive area. There's not a fire stop, and fire spreads quickly. And when you have fire that's exposed and through the roof, one of the tactics we have is to go defensive and put a lot of water on that fire.
Unfortunately, fire officials say the home could be a total loss. While firefighters believe lightning sparked the fire, the official cause will still be determined by the fire marshal. Reporting in Seminole County, Amanda McKenzie, Fox 35 News.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Brooks Garner joins me now. And Brooks, we saw some pretty significant storms yesterday.
We sure did, Garrett. Unfortunately, that house fire in the Sanford neighborhood of Markham Woods absolutely obliterating the home, a total loss. 1 lightning strike out of tens of thousands of lightning strikes yesterday, all thanks to the sea breeze, the heat, the humidity, and we've got all of the ingredients in place today for more of the same. But fortunately, I don't see as widespread of a coverage, but we're still going to have some isolated, stronger storms. Highs today, 93 in Orlando, 89 at Cocoa Beach, and 94 degrees in the Villages. We're going to have the storms coming in from the west for the most part today. The Gulf sea breeze will be stronger than the Atlantic sea breeze. So where they meet in the middle won't be the geographical spine of Florida like it was yesterday, where it was like over Lake Apopka. It'll kind of maybe be more toward the St. Johns River on the sort of right-hand side of this blue stripe. This is the storm timing. The storms will start earlier in orange on both